Hello, my soul family, and welcome to the Spiritual Counseling TV network and to your spiritual guidance series for this new week of May 20th to the 26th of 2024. My name is Christy Ramirez. I'm your soul coach, spiritual influencer, and motivational speaker. And today we are here gathered for this beautiful week. I am already feeling lots of good energy, lots of motivation, and as always, I always like to start the week with our weekly coffee talk so that we can just sit down for a couple minutes with some nice cup of coffee this early Monday morning and set our intentions for the rest of the week. You know, Monday is so important. And again, go and watch the daily spiritual guidance video for more detail on this Monday. But I just want to say at the start of today's talk that Monday really is an important sacred day because it really does determine the flow of the next coming days. So don't take it for granted. Don't also underappreciate how much can get done also on a Monday. And I just want to also remind you to enjoy the little things, enjoy the moments, because I know that sometimes Mondays can feel like a rush. It can feel even hectic for some. But that's just no excuse to enjoy life, because life is a gift. Every day is a gift. And I want us to start with that beautiful reminder this week. All right, my soul family. So let's get a little cozy and let us just sit here for like 30 minutes and enjoy this moment. These coffee talks are like a little counseling. And of course, this is just very generalized. This is just like a general therapy in a way for us, spiritual guidance from heaven, our angels coming in to support us emotionally, mentally, so that we can continue strong on our soul journey, because we are going to have ups and downs, and we're going to have those days as well where it's going to be just very difficult to just move or get out of bed and do things, right? This is where we need to reach out to higher power for extra strength, because we can't all just do it on our own. That's an ego way of living. And as we step into this ascension and we rise on our soul journey, we are learning to live through our higher self. We are learning to be dependent on God in a healthy way. And we are also learning to stay humble amidst the journey. The more that we continue to climb the mountain of success, and the more things that we have, the more humble we should be. And so I think that that's also a great starter, because there's just so much to be grateful. And I think that just gratitude in and of itself can ground us back into reality, to enjoy the moment, not rush it, no matter what, and just see where the moment takes you, right? I think that's a beautiful kind of little exercise for us this week. See where the moment takes you and then kind of review on that, instead of trying to plan it out exactly to detail, because we can plan all that we want, but there's always more that the divine will kind of surprise us with if we just let the divine surprise us. So yeah, let us even just take a moment right now and just kind of like start sipping our little coffee and just enjoy this moment. Wow, that's some beautiful warm coffee. And also the reminder, never let your coffee get cold. You know, that's such a beautiful saying, because that's like allowing a moment to kind of like just waste away without enjoying it, because you're focused on other things. Maybe you're focused on the future, on what's next, or maybe you're focused even on the past, which is a very unhealthy way of living. Because again, I want to go deeper into this, into like, I think that that's going to be a main thing for us this week, could be a good topic. And then as always, I want to remind you, if you need personal assistance, spiritual guidance, soul coaching, therapy in your life, book your counseling session with me, the soul coaching session at christyramirez.com/booking. and we can get started on your journey right away. I am free, and I have openings for new clients this week and in the coming weeks, so take advantage of that and don't wait any longer. All right, my soul families, so maybe also this is like your breakfast time as you are watching this video or having like a little moment to yourself. And I recommend that you do watch these videos when you are calm and you have nothing else on your mind, because I know that a lot of us maybe you have a busy work schedule, but make sure that you set some time aside when your mind is clear so that you can really absorb these messages. Remember, when you are very alert when watching a video or a podcast, you're more likely to remember what you just heard. And that also is a great habit to have for living in the moment, right? Enjoying the moment so that you can be more vivid when looking back at memories, and not just really, just being confused about what exactly happened because you weren't really present in the moment. That happens to a lot of people, and they miss out on such beautiful moments. And it could be the simplest of things, like it could just be a beautiful ocean that day, right? And maybe you can say that you have that ocean every day, but really you never know, because the next day just might not be the same. The water might be dirtier, or the weather might not be the same. It's like just every moment has its things. So I think that it's also important. So speaking now of like the past and the present, if you're overly focused on the past, that can definitely damage the future and your present moment, right? Because you are hyperly focused on what happened, and maybe what happened wasn't pleasant, or maybe these are traumas that keep resurfacing, and then you continuously get triggered in the moment. And that's all very unhealthy, because that's kind of like living in fear, living in anxiety, and it really takes away from the joy that is here and the love that surrounds us. And in order to really clear up the past, that takes a lot of healing work, that takes a lot of therapy. So definitely, if that's something that you are struggling with, you have to put in that work. You have to take that action step, that first step, to seek help, because that's almost like the only way, unless you're an expert on the topic and maybe you know the path to clearing all that up. But I think that a lot of people are still dealing with this. As always, there's someone out there always dealing with this. And being that I've worked with a lot of clients, seen a lot of families over my years in this career, I know that there's a lot of imperfect families, a lot of dysfunctional families. And the sad part of that is that it's the children that suffer, and then they kind of grow up with that, and then that kind of determines where their life goes, right? And so I think that it's never too early to seek help and therapy to clear that up. And now on the other spectrum, if you're overly focused on the future and what's next, that can also be harmful, because that's taken away from the now. And that's also like, that happens to a lot of people who are power hungry or love success and love to achieve goals, but they're never really satisfied with what they have achieved, and they just want more. They want the next thing. And so their victory is very short-lived, because they're not really celebrating. They're already planning for the next one, right? And that's just not a way to live either. It sounds very egocentric. It sounds very greedy even. It's very ego-driven. And I think that if we're gonna embody that through our higher self, it's about reflection. It's about celebrating and sharing that victory with those who were along with you on the journey. And it's what you can do with that victory as well, right? How can you now help others, mentor others? How can you use that for positive, for the light, for the mission, and not just focus on like your name and like, achieving the next thing because you want your name to be known for being this powerful person, right? And I see a lot of people get trapped in that cycle, which is a very vicious cycle in the modern era. And that can take away from the joy in the moment. That can take away from enjoying the fruits of your labor, right? Which that's a big one, because the fruits of our labor is all the hard work that we put in, and eventually it will give you results. And some will be quicker than others. Some are more long journeys, some are life works, and some will take just like a whole lifetime, and that's okay. But there are other victories that can definitely be more short term, and there's nothing wrong with celebrating the small victories along the way, because I think that that's also important. When was the last time you just took a day off, maybe from work or from something that you do every day, and just enjoy the moment and kind of celebrate how far you've come? Because I think that that's also very, would it be underestimated or overrated, right? Like, not a lot of people really take the time to celebrate the small victories along the way. You know, in companies, this is something that is common. They have, you know, little kind of like celebrations for milestones, having a planner and having kind of like a yearly calendar and an agenda where you set these goals, short-term, long-term, due dates, and then actually write down what you want to celebrate yourself with, and then let that be kind of like a little short-term incentive for us to keep going strong. Because let me tell you that the journey can definitely get very difficult, and it can be very lengthy if we don't take the time to intentionally take a step back, even if for just a day or like a moment. I think that a lot of us are always on the go, and this can take away from the joy of life. Like right now, it's just a beautiful sky. You know, it's that early morning sunrise. And again, we've changed the schedule again, so this is like a very early morning show. And it took a whole process for me to be here at this time, right? It's getting up. Today I wanted to show up a little bit more professional, and I got my hair done. And I had a very nice retreat day on Sunday, so I was very recharged by this early Monday morning. And that's all needed, right? Your spiritual cleansing and alignment for being in spiritual attunement with God and with what your purpose is and what you're destined to do on a day-to-day basis. I think that's so important for us to really take a moment to reflect this week. And also, you know, as I'm sitting here in just silence and just in meshing myself in this beautiful view of the sky, I want to also kind of mention, you know, when was the last time you just sat down with Spirit, with God, and prayed or expressed your thoughts, like actually get to know God? I think that's so important for our soul journey, is have a very close relationship with God. And I do want to mention that I do have lots of things that I do in regards to spiritual teachings in my School of Light. Like A Course in Miracles has been a book that I've read many times in my spiritual book club. These are Jesus's teachings, which is God's Son. And I also have a Bible study class where we are really getting to know the beginnings of time in the Old Testament. And why I'm mentioning, and also a devotional podcast show on my podcast Instagram page, which is at spiritualcounseling.tv. That one is so important and very underestimated, because that little podcast show, these are actually direct prayers to Jesus, and they're just powerful intentions, powerful mantras for us to keep throughout our days and when we need to pick me up. And like I was saying, you know, when life gets difficult, because again, life is like a roller coaster, and there's just going to be things that are thrown at us that maybe we weren't expecting. And again, everything in your life is as it should, and we should always acknowledge that and be grateful to God that everything that we are experiencing is a part of our journey, is part of the lessons that we need to learn, and it is going to shape our character. So it's about being grateful about everything that we are experiencing, because everything is a blessing, right? And we are also too blessed to be stressed. So speaking, you know, of these challenges, and when you're in the moment, it's very easy to get stressed. It's very easy to get the emotions get the best of you. And that, going back to our main topic, is taking away from the moment. It's taking away from the joy that is of the moment. And I want that little word, joy, to be the highlight of this week. How can you not only bring more joy into all that you do, including love, grace, peace, and happiness, but also how can you bring out the joy of everything that is around you. I think that one is very powerful because joy is already here, and it's all about perspective. I think that's something that I've actually been kind of shown this week through my own life. It's just shifting your perspective and the way that you see things. There's always infinite ways of doing the same thing, right? And just because you just did one thing one way the first time doesn't mean that there's not another way that might be better. Or maybe it's just to change it up so that you don't kind of let that be a monotonous rhythm. That's also part of having a healthy routine, I think. It's just definitely going with the flow, being intuitive with your body, and going day by day. Because every day, you know, our body's just gonna have fluctuations, and that's normal. And that doesn't mean that we are, you know, not doing good or not enough. It's just the way that it is that day, right? And so I think that being compassionate with ourselves on the journey, because remember, the spiritual journey is something that's happening parallel to the life that you're living on earth. So it's a lot to take in, and it's a lot of different things that you need to think about, that you need to maybe journal about and actually make the time for. It's just a lot, because if you're just living, let's say, your life here on earth, which it's just like a mundane, it's not necessarily mundane, but it's just the physical life, it's the physical world that you're living. If that's all that you're living, that can already be a lot, right? If you have a job, you probably have already a planner for that. You have 1,000 tasks to do at work each day, 1,000,000 phone calls a day, emails that you have to read. Maybe you have to show up to events, and then you have to dress up for that, show up professional. And then whatever it is that you do on the weekends, maybe it's to unwind, which might be one of the only times that a lot of people who have like a 9-to-5 job, or even a business, because let me tell you, having a business is still like a 9-to-5 job. It's just that we need to have a little bit more discipline with actually having that schedule, or whatever schedule, as long as it's those amount of hours, right? But a lot of the times it's usually just the weekends that we have time to really focus on the spiritual journey, our spiritual growth, and all these things that is really important for the spiritual journey. And that's okay if that's all the time that you have. But maybe, you know, if you do have time, fitting it in throughout the week as well, so that it's just not a weekend thing, you know, because it's the spiritual lifestyle is a daily thing. But then the actual time that you do spiritual work and maybe actual spiritual study should be scheduled into your schedule sometime during the week, right? And maybe during the weekends, again, a lot of times also people have families, social gatherings to show up to, so that's almost like you don't really have time to do the spiritual work either. So where do you fit it in? So I think that that's going to be a challenge for us this week. And, you know, even me, you know, I still have a life outside as well of the spiritual work that I do. And I've had to rearrange my schedule 1,000,000 times to try to see where I can fit in everything and be able to show up for everything, because I know that it is possible. It's just about finding and planning very to the detail and just very strategically. It's all about strategy, right? Strategy is so important to be able to get things done, and that can be applied to anything that you want in life, right? So I think that this is a lot of conversation to take in this week, but just think about all this and just kind of keep these as little thoughts, foods for thought, and make sure that you watch your daily spiritual guidance every morning. There's just no more than 5 minutes long, I promise, because it's just a little kind of intention for the day. Our affirmation to manifest a great day, a little angel message for extra support, and our spiritual guidance, of course, from heaven. The heavenly team that is wanting to support us on this journey, keep us high vibrational, and keep us in the light always. No matter what's happening outside in the world, we are the light, and we, as this lighthouse, need to always be in this light, shining bright, so that others can have some of that light when they need it, because there's a lot of people struggling to find the light. There's a lot of people in the darkness, in their own low points of life. And we have been sent here as light workers to be that person to pick others up, you know, obviously taking care of our own needs first, and then being able to help the world. That's how we are like superheroes as light workers, and that's what gives us fulfillment, because that's part of our mission and our purpose. And if you've been called to do this, I'm telling you, work on your light and then start to share this light immediately. Don't hold it onto yourself only because this is not only about your life and you're living your dream life, it's also about sharing it with others and how we can do good things with the dream things that we have in our life, right? And so, I've made it a point, I'm working on my own little dream home project. I've been working on my own dream life, but I also use it to share it and use it for this work, right? It's not just for me to enjoy on a daily basis, because trust me that there's a lot of, even rich people out there, like very rich people that live a very luxurious life and they love to keep it private. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but what are they really doing for back to society or for humanity, right? You don't really see a lot of that. And then that's when you know that there's a difference in people and the classification of people. There are people who have the same things, but they're doing something with it. And maybe they're even sharing a bit of their life or inspiring others, right? It's not about being selfish and not sharing it, because that can be a little selfish deep down. And there's just a lot of people that just want power and power. And like, it's just not a very good feeling or energy, right? And so we want to make sure that we're giving back always. Everything that we've been given is a blessing from God, so that we may give it back. So I think that that's a beautiful closing for our coffee talk today. And let's just get started right away with our spiritual guidance. There's a lot that the angels want to say, and I'm just so excited. So I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you for becoming a member of the Spiritual Counseling TV network for more exclusive content and shows year-round. Also, take a look at my School of Light and become a member there for access to all my classes and spiritual book club readings. And thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel, where you can watch all these videos free on a weekly basis. And just comment down below what it is that you like about the messages that you're listening to in these coffee talks. What stands out for you? I would love to get to know all of you. But again, thank you for sharing this page as well. And much love and light and blessings. Namaste.